Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So I guess today we're shifting gears. Andor has finally come to an end, and while it was an amazing show, I'm still hopeful for the future of Star Wars. Over the last few days in this fandom, there's been so much doom posting. People saying we're never gonna get anything as good ever again. Some have even gone as far as to say now that Andor is finished, so are they. They're checking out of Star Wars for good. Now look, there are no doubts on my end, Andor is the best Star Wars TV show. The best in terms of quality of writing, nuance, consistency, you name it. But that doesn't mean we're not getting good Star Wars ever again. And I know it's a long way out, but I'm still very optimistic about Ahsoka Season 2. Even if Dave Filoni's no Tony Gilroy, I think he might give us something very special. So I'm not checking out. And it's not just because I've got a channel dedicated to Star Wars. As a massive fan of this franchise, I can acknowledge we've had some really rough years. A few really bad shows, things that weren't my cup of tea, but I'm still here for the good stuff. And from a Lucasfilm standpoint, who knows what the reception to Andor's second season might lead to? They might take the hint. It might be a little while until we get someone on the caliber and quality of Tony Gilroy again, but based on the amazing reviews, and the way some of the other shows haven't really turned out well for them in terms of viewership, at the end of the day, Disney wants to make money. Hopefully they'll see Star Wars fans want this kind of Star Wars, the more mature stuff. Even if they're making the transition back to the big screen, I think the way forward is to make something with the grittiness and the maturity of Andor but with lightsabers. Imagine if The Acolyte had the tone and structure of Andor. But what I'm saying is, yes, it's really sad Andor is finished, but I'm not going to pretend Star Wars is suddenly now dead. Overall, we can discuss if it's been in a rough spot, and I definitely think it has been before this show, but I'm still very hopeful for the future. Like I said, Ahsoka Season 2, but also bear in mind, the majority of the shows announced back in 2020 are now finished. Disney and Lucasfilm should take time to reflect on everything that went right, everything that was beloved by fans, The Mandalorian's first 2 seasons, The Bad Batch, Skeleton Crew was amazing, Andor, and the stuff that didn't quite resonate, and hopefully this will lead to better creative decisions in the future. There are of course problems with the management with the higher-ups like Kathleen Kennedy, but I have to say, credit where it's due, defending the vision of Tony Gilroy, allowing him to do things which apparently other creatives at Lucasfilm didn't want him to do, is one of the best things she's done for the studio. So if now they can learn from their mistakes, listen to what fans have been saying about Andor, how not every single show has to have the same tone, but should be right up there with the same level of quality, then maybe we have hope. But the last confirmed Disney Plus Star Wars show which I do think they can stick the landing with is Ahsoka Season 2. It's over a year away, but I love covering every little breadcrumb, all the tidbits that come out from the cast and crew behind the scenes stuff, and today we have a couple of really big pieces of information. Season 2 is making some drastic changes compared to the first. For one thing, my dear friends, there's going to be a time jump. We don't know the exact number of years it's been since Ahsoka and Sabine got stranded on Peridea. Probably 1 or 2, but in a brand new behind the scenes of Dave Filoni on set with Rosario Dawson and Natasha Liu Bordisso, fans notice Sabine Wren's hair has grown. It might be as long as it was at the start of Season 1. On Lothal, when she was obsessing over Ezra Bridger, we got to see what I think was her most badass hairstyle, long and wild, but then when she set off with Ahsoka to find Ezra, she cut it back to her Rebels length, so it could fit under her Mandalorian helmet. But now it's grown again, indicating the aforementioned time jump. And let's be real here guys, would she really be Sabine without a different hairstyle every time we see her? She's an expressive artist, and as we saw in Rebels, she loved to dye her hair different colours. I don't know if the same is going to be possible on Peridea. Who knows, maybe the Noti have something that she can use. But this time jump was also alluded to by Rosario Dawson in a brand new interview. It's not just Sabine who's changed, but also Ahsoka Tano herself. She's about to undergo yet another live-action evolution. This time, her Lekku are different. As shown in the concept art at Star Wars Celebration, Rosario confirms they're going to be longer and more stylized. Maybe now they've reached the length of Shark T's head tails. And remember, they'd already changed the length of Ahsoka's Lekku between The Mandalorian Season 2 and Ahsoka Season 1. But now they've grown again. Maybe this time they'll be more in line with Star Wars Rebels. I love the idea of these small changes. And by the same logic, maybe Baylan and Shin are different. And I'm not just talking about the Baylan recast, I'm talking in-universe. Because even though we found out quite a lot through the concept art for Season 2, there is still a crazy amount of unknowns. The real thing, the live-action actors, are gonna obviously look a bit different. we do have another piece of Ahsoka Season 2 news, but I do apologize and I am sorry to say this one is bad news. Do you guys remember a few days ago, I spoke about Dave Filoni's attitude towards Grand Admiral Thrawn? How it doesn't seem like he understands Timothy Zahn's work. He doesn't understand Thrawn's canon motives. Well, Timothy Zahn himself has just acknowledged this, and there might be a little bit of a rift between the two. I don't know if there was an argument, if there was a falling out between Filoni and Zahn, but this update is pretty massive. Recently, Timothy Zahn attended Rogue Comic-Con, and he was asked about Filoni. Thanks to one fan in attendance who posted the live commentary and what was being said in the moment, we know exactly what the writer said. He lamented that, quote, Dave refuses to let him give influence on Thrawn in live action / animation, so I guess Rebels and Tales of the Empire. And Zahn goes on to say he's been trying to contact Dave, but for whatever reason, he can't get through to him. In his own words, Lucasfilm is paranoid and Disney is worse. That is absolutely wild to me. It's been a crazy week for Dave Filoni rumours. First there was the report he's not a fan of Tony Gilroy, he doesn't like that fans prefer Andor to Ahsoka, and he seems to get really jealous about it. Well, there might be a similar situation between Filoni and Timothy Zahn. He doesn't mention if there's a feud, but I think Zahn wants to advise Filoni on what's coming. And this is a really bad sign. Filoni won't answer the calls of the guy who wrote the character in the first place. I'm honestly gobsmacked. When the first season of Ahsoka came out, Zahn talked about how he came up with his own headcanon to explain the events between Star Wars Rebels and Ahsoka Season 1, the kinds of conversations Thrawn had with Ezra before being separated, and all the while it seemed as though Zahn was pretty okay with what Filoni did, but ahead of Season 2, it appears as though something has changed. I don't know if it's an argument, I don't know if it's more innocent than that, and just a big misunderstanding, but Filoni should be actively pursuing Zahn to help him with that story. If this is true, and I think it is, it's inexcusable. And personally, I interpret this to mean that, despite some fan hopes, I really don't think Dave Filoni is building up to his own version of Heir to the Empire. He really is going his own way. He's going to do his own thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but please respect the one man who understands Grand Admiral Thrawn better than anyone on this planet. Maybe the quote was taken out of context, maybe there's more to it, or like I said, maybe it's more innocent than it seems. But this sentence is terrifying. Lucasfilm is paranoid, and Disney is worse. One fun tidbit to finish off with is that George Lucas was not a fan of the Salamiri idea. He probably was like, force-repelling lizards? Are you kidding me? No. I think they were fun. But what do you guys think about the changes coming in Ahsoka Season 2 for Sabine, Ahsoka, and now I guess, Thrawn? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, my dear friends. If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.